Hello.
Hello, it's Jerome.
Oh, how are you getting on settling in to the new job?
It is great, thank you. Very comfy chairs in the office.
Oh, right. Brilliant. I mean, always important, of course. See you've had a new photo taken?
Yes, I wanted to look more dapper on the job. Also, the mankini you made me wear was a bit weird.
Well, I just thought it complimented your figure, really.
The UFC executives thought differently and now they keep calling me bum cheeks.
Oh, well, you can't really blame me with that one. I warned you about going a size too small.
It was a snug fit, but calling me bum cheeks is unacceptable.
I think you're just going to have to let this one blow over. I mean, Dennis Herman had his left testicle out at one point during a fight, and everyone's forgot about that one now. So, well, say everyone. Some people have forgot. I'm sure Dana White still manages to find a way to be angry about it. I mean, Dennis Herman could reply to Dana and kind of bring a whole new meaning to the phrase, "Don't like it, don't watch."
You are being silly now and this is a serious matter. I am very angry.
Hello, my name's Frosty, and I think I may have offended Jerome. I would say that I could tell by the tone of his voice, but I would be lying, because you can't really tell anything from any sort of emotion from Jerome. He is emotionless, unfortunately. Just words, just pure words. But we are going to move on swiftly, get right into the next card, and the first one is headlined by Walt Harris versus Alistair Overeem. So it should be really good. Let's get right into it. It's UFC Fight Night. We're in Alabama, and as you can see, got a card packed full of experienced fighters. We've got Alistair Overeem, of course, been around for a long, long time, fought all over the world. James Vick's been around for a long time. Tim Bosch, Ed Herman, lots of fighters that have been around, kind of around the blocks. And main event can be particularly interesting. Walt Harris, real prospect. Kind of started off a little bit iffy in the UFC, but starting to show his real potential, knocking people out all the time. Really exciting fighter. And then Suarez as well, should be an interesting one. Unbeaten so far in the UFC. She beats Michelle Waterson. She will be thinking about getting in title contention territory, definitely. So I'm hoping she will win, because kind of want a new prospect there. Michelle Waterson's had her time. She lost to Joanna recently. So yeah, let's get right into it. So first fight, both of these guys have fought quite a bit in the UFC. 2 wins, 3 losses for Peterson, and TORITO has had about 9 fights in the UFC. Not been great in it. He's lost the last 3 fights, so interesting to see how it goes. Let's have a look. And Peterson's won comfortably. Unanimous decision. Average fight. Okay, nothing to shout home about, but it was alright. We'll move on. Next fight, Austin Hubbard against Eric Wisely. Eric Wisely's fought in the UFC before. Doesn't say it here for some reason, but he has fought in the UFC before. He had his 2 losses. But since then, he's fought regional scene for a while and has been winning. He's on quite a big winning streak. He's quite an interesting fighter, really, coming into the UFC. Quite old, coming back to the UFC when he's 36 years old. Be interesting against a fighter that's 1-2 in the UFC. Let's see how it goes. And Eric Wisely has won, so he's got his first win ever in the UFC after 3 fights, which is brilliant for him. And unanimous decision. Fight was rated decent. Ideally one a bit better. Next we've got Tracey Cortez against Veronica Macedo. Tracey Cortez unbeaten so far in the UFC. Not unbeaten. Well, she is unbeaten in the UFC. I was going to say unbeaten in MMA. She has lost 1 fight, but unbeaten in the UFC. She's only had 1 fight. 1-0 in the UFC against a fighter who's been around for a little while in the UFC. Yeah, 5 fights. Struggling a bit, to be honest. Hopefully we see Cortez get a win, although Macedo is a favourite. And Cortez has managed to get the win, which is brilliant. Submission finish in round 3. Fight rated is good. That's good. 2 wins in a row for Cortez. Starting to make a name for herself. Next fighter, Sheldon Wescott against Rodriguez. Rodriguez came in as a late replacement. Won his last fight against Mickey Gall, of course. TKO strikes, really big win for him. Mickey Gall's pretty reasonably big name. And Wescott 1-2. So Rodriguez will be hoping to continue that momentum, but he is coming in as the underdog. and he hasn't continued the momentum because Wescott's won. Unanimous decision. The fight was rated average. Okay, again, nothing particularly exciting, but is what it is. Next, we've got Brock Weaver, who's fighting his home state of... he's fighting for a home crowd, that's what I'm trying to say, in Alabama. And Philip Rowe, against Philip Rowe, who has not fought in the UFC so far. It's his first fight in the UFC. He's 7-2 in the regional scene. Brock Weaver, as you can see, he's quite an eccentric guy. So let's see how it goes. Brock Weaver has won in front of his home crowd. Won via armbar. Brilliant, well, great fight. Brilliant win for him. He's going to push on. I think just by his picture, you could kind of see him being a bit of an attraction just for being a bit of an odd guy. Next we got Bilal Muhammad against Walve Alvers. Alvers been around for a while. Yep, 7 wins, 4 losses. So experienced UFC fighter. And so has Muhammad as well. 7-3. So they're kind of in similar situations. Both just broken into the top 25. So they'll be hoping to just get out of it. And Alvers has won submission in the 3rd round. And he'll be hoping to push on towards the top 15 eventually and go on from there. So next fight we've got is Eric Anders against Ed Herman. Ed Herman, of course, been around. He fought in the Ultimate Fighter right at the start. I think it was Ultimate Fighter 2 or 3. What is it? 3. So he fought in Ultimate Fighter 3. He did lose in the final, I believe. And then since then he's been around. Never kind of got to the very top, but he's always been consistently a decent fighter that's kind of like a gatekeeper. Eric Anders, last couple of fights he's won, but struggled a bit before that. Three losses in a row, can't speak. And of course, did fight Macedo back in the day as well. So let's see how it goes. And Anders has won, which is a huge win for him because he'll get a lot of hype off Ed Herman's reputation there, and it was a good win. A good fight, sorry. Which is good to kick off the main card. And then we got another kind of similar fight in some ways, in the sense that we got a younger fighter in Trevin Giles against Tim Boetsch. Tim Boetsch, of course, similar to Ed Herman, never quite got into the top levels of UFC, but he's been around for ages. 12 wins, 12 losses. And then Trevin, I assume that's Giles actually, rather than Giles. Giles has won his last fight, 3-2 in the UFC. And he's won again. The younger fighters won again with a good fight via submission via rear naked choke. Next fight we got is James Vick versus Rostam, and James Vick was a really interesting fight back a few years ago, but has really struggled. Four losses in a row. They are all pretty difficult fighters to face, so maybe he will make a bit of a comeback. He is the underdog in this fight though, and has got a difficult fight against someone who's won kind of like their last 7 of the last 8 fights. So he's won a lot of his last few fights, so he's doing really well. Rostam, see how it goes. And James Vick has managed to win. Bit of an upset, split decision win. He needed it desperately. Probably has kept his place in the UFC. So good for him. Average fight, but he has managed to win. Now we got the co-main event. Tina Suarez against Michelle Waterson. Michelle Waterson, of course, recently lost to Joanna. She's a very good fighter. Never had a title shot. If she beat Joanna, she definitely would have. If she beats Suarez, she's back kind of looking for contention. And Suarez wins, you've got to start thinking about it because she's unbeaten. Let's see how it goes. Michelle Waterson has won. Not ideal for me from a promoter's promoter's point of view, but it's not the end of the world because Michelle Waterson is quite marketable, and it was rated as a decent fight. Okay, that's okay. She did say she's a class interviewee, so hopefully there's a bit of hype off the back of that. So now we're into the main event. We've got Walt Harris against Alistair Overeem. This is going to be a really interesting fight, I think, because Alistair Overeem recently come off a knockout loss. He was in control most of the fight against Rosenstruck, but just got caught right at the end. And he's not really slowed down that much in considering how old he is. And Walt Harris He's 37 years old. So he's 37 years old. 37 years of age. I can't speak. Which is almost surprising when I looked at the number, because he doesn't seem like he's that old. But because he kind of feels like someone that's coming through, but he's not at all. But he has done really well in his last few fights. He did beat Andrei Arlovski. That was a tainted supplement, apparently, that lost him the win and gave him a no contest. So Harris getting a big cheer from the crowd. He's the home fighter in Alabama. Exchange of blows without anything landing. Then exchange of strikes happen at the centre. Overeem dodges a right hand and counterattacks with a right hand that lands cleanly. Let's continue with the exchange of strikes. They're still exchanging. We're into the halfway mark of the round already. Quick exchange of strikes, again not much damage. Overeem scores with a left hook. Then Harris nails a vicious right cross, and Overeem is knocked down already in the first round. Harris is moving in quickly, kneeling beside Overeem, starting to hammer down punches. He's pounding away on Overeem, landing good shots. Harris gets off balance as he tries to finish, allowing Overeem to sweep him and start for a scramble position. The scramble somehow results in Harris underneath Overeem in the north-south position. That is terrible from Harris. Overeem gives up the north-south position in favour of sliding into side control. Overeem tries to lock Harrison into an arm triangle, but he tries to fight it off. This is a quick turnaround. Overeem keeps Harris guessing with a few quick strikes. Then he lands a big rights, but Harris covers up well. Now Overeem is firing away punches at Harris, and he takes several shots that threaten to end the fight, and it's the end of the round. That is a very exciting start to the fight. I mean, Harris seemed to be in control. Clearly his lack of jiu-jitsu skills showing there, because he should not be getting the tides turn so quickly against him. So they stand and trade blows at the start of the round. Both fighters meet in the centre. Overeem misses a jab, but it's a kick to the legs, and now Harris lands a left jab and also hits a wicked right head kick, and it's a knockout. Overeem is out. What a fight, really. That's a very exciting fight, and Walt Harris has won. I hope they recognise it, and it is rated as fantastic, brilliant. Wow, that is a way to make your name for yourself. We had Walt Harris getting the knockdown in this first round, Overeem turning it around somehow on the ground. Neither of these guys specialists on the ground, but Overeem turns it around on the ground. At the end of the round, looked like he could have finished it. Walt Harris, right at the start of the second round, finishes it with a massive head kick. Full-blown knockout, not a TKO, and he's definitely getting a knockout of the night for that. So, really exciting main event to finish off with in this fight card. And now next we're going to get into the announcement for two very exciting incoming fighters for the UFC. The first one is the one and only Nick Diaz. He signed on a free fight exclusive contract. Will be really interesting to see what I can do with him. He's got a really high reputation, obviously brilliant fighter, always puts on exciting fights. The next one is the knockout artist Anthony Rumble Johnson, back in the UFC. He is one of my favourite fighters, brilliant fighter, knocks out most of his opponents, as I said. Obviously came off that loss in Daniel Cormier, had a bit of a loss of motivation, but now he's back. Let's see how it goes in his resurgence in UFC. But before we do that, we're going to get right into the next card, which is headlined by Adesanya versus Costa. Let's get right into it. We're in Australia, and we've got a really fascinating card with two big title fights, with Adesanya versus Costa, as I said already, and Volkanovski versus Holloway, the rematch. Also on the card, Donald Cerrone versus Dan Hooker. Dan Hooker's chance to really make a name for himself and elevate himself. Jake Matthews as well, and Ty Devasa also on the card. Lots of Australian fighters all coming together for what is one of the biggest cards there's ever been in Australia. Let's get right into it. First fight, two guys, got Australian fighter, but two guys that have not really stamped much authority in the UFC so far. Both of them not won a fight. We got 0-2 with Suman, and Nate Landwehr has got 1 loss and 0 wins, so let's see how it goes. And Suman has won, fighting in front of his home crowd in Australia. He has won in first round. Really good start to the card. Next fight, we've got Luigi Vandraramani versus Callum Potter. Hopefully absolutely nailed that pronunciation. I'm sure I didn't. And Luigi comes in as a bit of a favourite. He's not fought in the UFC, and neither has... Oh no, Potter has, sorry. Remembering wrong. Has won 1 and lost 2 in the UFC. And Luigi has won. The Italian Stallion, apparently. Quite like that nickname. Bit of a classic. He's won. Rated as great. Of course, the hometown fighter has lost out, or a home country fighter. Next we've got Justin Tifa against Carlos Filipe, and Justin Tifa won his last fight, I believe, against Joanne Adams. Another Australian fighter against a debuting Carlos Filipe. That's how it goes. And Tifa has won in the first round via TKO. That is a big win. Classic heavyweight fight. First round knockout. That's a really good way to stamp your authority by Tifa. Next fight we got is Nad Naramani versus Jamie Mulkey. Hopefully that's it. Naramani beat Paddy Pimblett quite famously, and then has won last couple of UFC fights, and then lost against Mike Grundy in his last fight. Jamie has 1 loss in the UFC and no wins. So I can see how this one goes. And Jamie has got the win. That's a huge win for him. And I rated as great, which is really good. So we're getting a bit of momentum in the prelims. Next fight, Tyson Pedro versus Klidson Diabry. I'm going to call him the Russian Terror. I quite like that. He's just called Russian Terror. We've got Tyson Pedro versus Russian Terror. Russian Terror has 1 loss and 1 win and 2 losses in the UFC. Tyson Pedro, 3 wins, 3 losses. He's beaten a couple of reasonably big names. I wouldn't say big names, but in Khalil, in Browntree and Paul Craig. But last couple of fights when he's been challenged with the kind of upper echelon fights in terms of State Prue and Marco Rua, he has struggled a bit. So let's see how this goes. And he has struggled again in this fight with the Russian Terror, winning by submission in the first round. Fight was rated as great. Next fight we got is Leah Letson against Megan Henderson. I mean, it's not her name. Megan Anderson. Megan Anderson came into UFC with a lot of hype. She's kind of lived up to that hype. Not quite kind of pushed on as much as maybe they hoped. Lost her fight against Holly Holm and also lost against Spencer. But she has won her last 2 fights with finishes. So she will be hoping to make a similar finish in this fight against Leah Letson, who's won her first fight in the UFC. And she has done. She's won in the first round via TKO. That's a big statement. We've got to start thinking, considering it's quite a thin featherweight division, is she going to get a title shot soon? Maybe. I'll have a think. But 3 finishes in the first round has definitely got to be up there for it. Of course, Amanda Nunes is kind of between both divisions at the moment in terms of the bantamweight and the featherweight division. So we're going to get into the main card now. Ty Devasa against Jeff Hughes. Devasa kind of had he's fought Dos Santos a little while ago and lost it, and then since then he's kind of gone on a bit of a downward spiral. He looks like a bit of a prospect, bit of a Mark Hunt protege as they call it there in the bio. And Jeff Hughes is just your kind of, he's not a particularly brilliant fighter. He's lost he's lost two fights in the UFC and then no contest against Todd Duffy because of an eye poke or something like that, I think. Devasa comes in as a massive favourite. He needs the win, and he has got the win. Knockout in the first round. It's good for him to get his momentum back a bit and kick off the main show. Jake Matthews against Alan Jaban. Jake Matthews, he's had quite a few fights in the UFC. Won his last couple. Never quite got into that kind of top 10, but he's kind of been around top 20-ish for a while. And not got into the game, but in general, he's kind of been around there. And then Alan Jabane is kind of a similar situation, really. Been around for a while, but never been top fighter. And Jake Matthews has won. Average fight, apparently. Unanimous decision. Now we're getting into the really interesting fights. We've got Donald Cerrone against Dan Hooker. And I'm fascinated to see how this goes, because Dan Hooker is a young fighter, kind of coming through. And of course, Donald Cerrone has been around for I mean, I say this quite a lot. I seem to say been around for quite a long time. He has been around for a very, very long time, and kind of been a bit of a gatekeeper. He's lost his last 3 fights, so he does need a win to get momentum back. They are 3 very difficult fights, but he's fighting Dan Hooker, who's a fighter that's coming through, really going to be starting to get into title contention if he does win this. And Cerrone has won, which big fight for a big win for his career. It's a great fight, unanimous decision win. Doesn't send the home crowd home happy. I'm not going to say home because they've still got 2 more fights. Shouldn't have said that. Doesn't send the home fans to get another drink happy. Doesn't send them. I don't know what I'm trying to say. Let's just move on. We're going to move on to the next fight. We've got Alexander Volkanovski against Max Holloway, the rematch. We're going to watch the commentary for this fight because I am fascinated to see how this goes. Max Holloway is one of my favourite fighters. Really down-to-earth guy, and still really young for how well he's done. Of course, one of the best featherweights ever, knocked out Aldo twice, and then has lost to Dustin Poirier for the lightweight belt, and then has lost to Volkanovski. But we've had the rematch, and let's see how it goes. Volkanovski's a very good fighter as well. Very short for the division he's in, but kind of uses that to his advantage with some of the wrestling. Volkanovski gets a good reaction, as you'd expect. And Holloway can't hit a set-up left jab, but then catches Volkanovski with a right hook. And it looked like we were about to see Volkanovski try and grapple, but Holloway was more aggressive and took the initiative. Holloway can't set up a left jab, but then scores with a right cross. Volkanovski may have been set up to shoot, but Holloway aggressively takes the initiative. Holloway throws a quick punch but doesn't hit. A jab hits home with Holloway, from Holloway, and then he lands a right hand. That's what I meant to say. Volkanovski comes in fast looking for the takedown, and Holloway manages to defend it. He's not going down. He's up against the cage now, and Volkanovski's still pushing him against the cage. Tries to smother Holloway, so we see Volkanovski pressuring Holloway against the cage. Then a jab from Holloway, and then hits a body kick. So they must have separated. A couple of jabs from Volkanovski. Holloway lands 3 quick punches, and then Volkanovski shoots for another takedown. Holloway defends it, but then we've got another situation where Volkanovski's against the cage, and he's still keeping him against the cage, keeping Holloway against the cage. A few short punches, not much going on. Volkanovski tries to smother Holloway in the cage again. Holloway moves in closer, looking to open up attack, so we're seeing a bit of separation. Volkanovski looks like he was going to step in and grapple, but Holloway simply took the initiative first. Holloway throws a quick punch, but doesn't hit. We're at the end of round 1. Holloway has won that round, which is interesting. Maybe getting the better of the stand-up. Holloway moves in closer. Didn't read that one. Volkanovski may have been aiming to get in close, but Holloway aggressively took the initiative. Holloway lands a jab and then catches Volkanovski with a right hook. Holloway confidently comes in closer. Volkanovski backing off, hits 2 weak left hands. Holloway can't connect with a jab, but then hits a nice straight right. It looked like we were going to see Volkanovski try and get some grappling started, but Holloway took the initiative again. And then a jab from Holloway, and then he scores with a kick. And then Volkanovski's got a cut now, which could be big in the fight. Holloway moves in closer, looking to open up an attack. 2 defensive jabs hit from Volkanovski, but neither has any power. Holloway can't set up a left jab, but then hits a spin kick to the ribs. Holloway can't hit a set-up left jab, but then he lands a right hand. Holloway connects with a nice jab, and then scores with a right cross. Holloway tries to go to the body with a sharp hook, but then he's off target. Volkanovski comes in and grabs Holloway in the clinch. Volkanovski is looking to muscle Holloway back to the cage. Volkanovski can't do it though, and ends up being out-wrestled in the grapple. With the control of the clinch, Holloway tries to complete a takedown. Volkanovski stops the takedown. And then we're moving into the second half of the round. Volkanovski is trying to push Holloway so that his back is up against the cage. He does so, and now Holloway's pinned. And now Volkanovski is trying to maintain control, but Holloway works enough space so he can pull clear. Volkanovski hits a jab, but doesn't really have any power. And then Holloway fails to find home with a jab, but then lands a kick. And then Holloway closes in on Volkanovski, looking to unleash some strikes. Volkanovski hits 2 tentative left jabs, neither with anything behind them. A quick flurry of 4 punches from Holloway, sees all of them hit home, and then scores with a spinning back kick to the body. Holloway is clearly coming more confident now. He's coming in closer. Volkanovski uses a left jab while backing away. Holloway uses a left jab, but Volkanovski evades the big right punch. Volkanovski still bleeding. The doctor checks it out, but he's continued the fight. Holloway tries to go to the body with a sharp hook, but is off target. Volkanovski moves in fast with Holloway. And now Volkanovski uses underhooks to gain control, and now he's looking for the takedown, and he managed to get takedown, which is a big takedown at the end of the round. And he's smothering him, not giving his any opponent any room, and it's at the end of the round. Holloway still gets the round, according to the commentator. He did seem to be getting better at the strike battles, but of course that takedown may have been influential in the judges, but clearly not. Holloway fails to find a home for his jab, but then catches Volkanovski with a right hook, showing great timing. Volkanovski's gone for the takedown again. He's managed to stop the takedown, and now we're seeing him against the cage again. Seems similar. Holloway's managed to get clear. Holloway steps clear, and now he's unleashing on him with some striking. Volkanovski may be aiming to get close again, and a lab lands from Holloway, but Volkanovski evades a big right punch. Holloway is still moving well, but he is definitely breathing a little deeper now. Holloway moves in closer, ready to attack. Volkanovski may have been aiming to get in close, but Holloway aggressively took the initiative. Holloway can't connect with a jab, but then hits a nice right straight. Holloway can't connect with a setup jab, but then he scores with a right cross that's landed hard. Holloway lands a left hand, and then catches Volkanovski with a crunching right hook. Holloway moves in closer, looking to open up attack. He's clearly getting the better of the striking battle now. It looked like we were about to see a shot from Volkanovski, but Holloway is more aggressive and took the initiative. Holloway can't connect with a jab, but then he scores with a right hand kick to the ribs. There's a very quick takedown attempt again. Volkanovski's not managed to get it finished though. With Holloway not going down, Volkanovski's taken Holloway against the cage, and he's pretty much trapped now. And then they engage in some close-up battle. Holloway is pressed up against the cage. It's continuing to happen with some dirty boxing. Holloway wrestles back against Volkanovski, turning him enough so he can escape from the cage. Holloway lands a jab and then a right hand, and that's the end of the round. Holloway's won again. He's won the round again. This could be huge for him getting back his featherweight title. Holloway uses a left jab, but his big right hand follows up. Follow-up misses. Holloway lands left jab, but finds nothing but air with a big right. A flurry of 4 punches from Holloway, see 4 of them land, and then lands a big right hand. Volkanovski shoots him for the takedown again, and Holloway's managed to defend it against the cage. We've seen a bit of a theme here. Some few short punches, nothing really going on, and Holloway's still trapped. And now with the fighters being stuck against the cage, the ref separated them. Holloway fails to find a home with a jab, but then lands a right. Holloway hits a left hand, but then can't connect with a right to the body. There's now a minute left in the round. Holloway hits a left jab and then hits a right hand. Holloway hits a left jab and then hits Volkanovski with a right straight. Holloway fails to find home for his jab, but then scores with a right cross that's landed hard. That round goes to Holloway again, so we got, according to the commentators, 4 rounds to Holloway. There's a takedown attempt straight at the start, and Holloway pulls guard. Now, he's trying to get past his guard, Volkanovski. He passes to half guard. In half guard, Volkanovski catches his breath and just throwing a few punches. Volkanovski blocks Holloway as he tries to transition into guard. Volkanovski punches down on Holloway, but they are easily taken. Volkanovski fires off a handful of punches, but none of them are really doing any damage. Holloway tries a sweep, but doesn't manage to. Volkanovski throws a few right hands to think about what he's going to do next. Volkanovski blocks as Holloway tries to transition. Volkanovski pounds away on Holloway, landing a few clean shots, but not many. Volkanovski feels Holloway prepared to scramble for position and doesn't let it happen. Volkanovski pounds away, but nothing really lands. Holloway tries to transition to full guard, but can't manage it. Volkanovski tries to pass the half guard, getting his leg free with ease. He slides to side control. Volkanovski pounds away, but Holloway isn't troubled by the strikes. Volkanovski blocks Holloway as he tries to sweep for side control. The fight comes to an end. Looks like we're going to see a Holloway win, and that looks likely, and it is a Holloway unanimous decision win for the featherweight title. I think we might have to have the rubber match at some point. Not the most exciting fight in the world, rated as decent. Holloway's won the title back, and interesting to see how that went. Didn't seem like Volkanovski really posed much of a threat, which is interesting considering how the first fight went. Both were close fights. So now we're going to get into the main event, which is going to be a really, really fascinating encounter. We've got Adesanya, unbeaten in 19 fights, So is Costa's also unbeaten in 13 fights instead. More than worthy contender for the belt. He beat Yoel Romero in his last fight, and Adesanya, of course, kind of slowly rising as one of the biggest names in the UFC. And it will be interesting to see if Paulo Costa can cope with the striking of Adesanya, because no one's really managed to at all. But he does come in as small underdog. It's basically evens. Adesanya's, of course, got a bit of a crowd advantage, you'd think, in being from New Zealand. Costa misses with a big right hand, allowing Adesanya to counter and landing a solid jab. There's a big reach advantage for Adesanya. Costa scores with a great left hook. Adesanya connects cleanly with a right hand. They're still striking. Costa tries to hit a right hand, and then Adesanya hits a left jab and also lands a nice right hook. Both fighters move in and engage. Costa scores with a right hook kick to the body. Adesanya hits a left jab and then also hits a good right hand. Costa tries to intimidate his opponent, and then the two fighters engage. Adesanya scores with a jab but then finds his right hand blocked. Costa lands a leg kick. The two fighters engage. Costa nails a left cross. Adesanya scores with a jab and also launches a right head kick that did damage. That last blow may have really hurt Costa. He staggers backward looking dazed. This is only 2 minutes into the round, and Adesanya throws a right head high kick to try and finish the groggy Costa off, but it only glances off his forearm and the opportunity is wasted. Both fighters step in to strike. That's not like Adesanya, but then Adesanya does slip in past the left hook and counters with a powerful straight right that is landed cleanly. Costa is out. It is all over. That is an impressive win from Adesanya. He's won in the first round against what was a very worthy contender in Paulo Costa. And you can just see him going from strength to strength to being one of the biggest attractions in the UFC at this rate. He's just beaten probably his biggest test in his career in the first round. That is very impressive. And as they said there, he's got real star power. So that's brilliant for him. It's brilliant for me from a promoter's point of view. And it'll be interesting to see where I can go with Adesanya in his next fights, to see if I can keep pushing him to stardom to the level of Conor McGregor, because I really think he has that potential. Next fights we've got in the next episode is Dustin Poirier versus Charles Oliveira, and also Yoel Romero versus Jack Hermanson. Both of those headlining different fight cards. Should be brilliant. So I hope to see you there. Do all the good things, like, subscribe, whatever else I meant to say as a YouTuber, and I'll see you later.